I don't know. I said hello 3 times. I do a weird nervous thing every time I start this thing. Hi, I'm Ren, and this is my friend Kaza. You are watching Tales of Make Believe, which is a Twitch interview show which I started to unite LARPers and the Twitch TTRPG world and start getting information flowing and community building and all that stuff. And I have a lot of people that want to hear stories from awesome LARPers, and I know a lot of awesome LARPers that don't get enough chances to talk. So that's my story. Here you are. This is what's happening. Just a brief reminder that since this is Twitch, there are a number of different ways to support the channel and support my wonderful guest for taking time out of her day to come here. So it is the policy of the Make Believe channel that anytime you donate bits to Tales of Make Believe, all of those bits go directly to the guest, and that's how we do it because it's nice of them to join us. If you want to just introduce yourself real quick, any projects you've got coming out on the pipeline, any social media you want to pitch, any of that sort of thing, and I am going to turn off these very loud sounds that are happening from the Twitch.
Oh, well, that's good. Loud sounds from the Twitch is good. Well, hello everyone. I'm Kaza Marie, and I am here today on this lovely show to talk to you about make believe and some things that I do that are within the make believe realm of live action role play and some other immersive experiences. And I'm just like really happy to be here. I was looking forward to having this conversation with Ren. We just spent a nice weekend together and we've had some adventures last year, and so we haven't really had an opportunity to talk about those. And so I'm excited to talk about those with you, as well as some projects that I'm working on right now. I am editing a video from Empires in Flames, as well as the next few projects on the pipeline come from Outbound Hope and Armistice Arcane. So I will be editing some videos from those experiences and kind of turning them into something to introduce people into live action role play, but also show them a little bit more of what it's like from my experience. So yeah.
Yeah, so the format of Tales of Make Believe, if you have not been here before, is we have picked a number of questions from the Make Believe Discord server, which is a place that you can join if you click on the button down below. There's people chatting about TTRPGs, LARPing, just different adventures, building communities, etc. It's a fun and really nice group of people developing in there. But they have asked us a bunch of questions, and we are going to answer those. And then we're going to pull over and grab a couple questions from you all that are in the chat, in case you missed the Discord train. And then after we do that, we enter the tomb, which is where our guest rolls a die and gets a random prompt. And they're going to pick one of their original characters and just do a little RP with whatever that prompt has come at them with. And I've gotten those prompts from the Discord server and Patreon, and just people that we jointly know who wanted to toss some questions and see if any of them stuck. So, but before we get into the Discord questions, I'm just gonna talk a little bit because there's a lot of things that I want to talk to Kaza about pretty regularly, and often we end up actually getting together and just like drinking coffee and watching movies instead of
And
actually getting
coexisting.
to talk about the really like nitty gritty stuff. So this was sort of like a double hit birds with stones. I don't know. You're not. Yeah. Getting to actually talk shop with Kaza just a little bit, not too much, but a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's rare. You hardly ever ask me any questions in our when we hang out. Mostly it's just been us coexisting and just mostly enjoying nature. I feel like, right?
yeah. I posted
Yeah.
some really good pictures of Kaza helping me carry my dog up a hill. Poor old Frank. And I mean, I personally would also just love to spend the whole hour picking your brain simply about how you approach LARP as a videographer. Um, but we won't do that. We're gonna do your questions, promise. But do you have any particular sort of insight on how you best try to capture the magic of moments in LARPs and other immersive experiences into art on a little screen, or sometimes a big screen if you're watching it on your TV.
Yes. So I have some interesting approaches that I kind of reflect on before I go to a LARP event, and I am a videographer or film it. Something that I like to find is that just one of those special moments, as a LARPer myself, I know that there is just these great epic stories that we spend so much time developing at home, that we make props for and costumes, or maybe we even spend an entire year planning for and pooling resources. So I kind of like to show those special moments. I like to document those special moments because they are important to people, and they're important to me because of the smiles and the emotions that they kind of pull from others. And so anytime that I go to an event, I kind of look for that first. What is something, emotional, or something just kind of that has been worked on really hard that I can focus on and build around. So I look for something like that, something special, and I try to show that in my work, because I think that the kind of the art that we make together is the best art. So if it's something that's personal, that maybe only a few of us kind of get the true essence of, I think that that's probably what inspires me the most to capture. I hope that makes sense, but I really just like finding just special things and making them forever.
Okay, you're not supposed to make me cry within what is it? 5 minutes of the stream having started. That was so nice. I feel
Oh
like
well,
I feel like I always like dump a lot of time and effort into props and things that I think I am the only person in the world that notices the prop at all. So that's
no, I've
nice
seen
that
your
somebody's
costumes.
walking around and looking at things.
Yeah, I've seen your costumes and the things that you bring, and I mean, even as we were at Empire and Flames, there were so many of your relics and gizmos and props and everything that had either come from a friend of yours or had come from something that you made. And I think that that is something that is really beautiful that you can capture about LARP. And to help with that, for anybody who's looking at advice, I got a macro lens recently to make sure that I can get those little tiny details, even just, like the latex is wearing out in your sword, or you put too much duct tape on your boffer, or perhaps it's like a crown that somebody has spent like hours on. I like to see those details. So my work for a long time has focused on kind of like portraying what LARP can be, but in the next from last year moving forward, I really just wanted to show those little tiny details of all the things that might go missed. So
I like that. Some people may have noticed you have changed your online presence in the past little while. Some people may know the old name, and I know that the old name does come up in one of the questions. And I personally am a big fan of Fiery Reincarnation myself, for Atomic Firebird. But I was curious how it was going, and if there was anything you felt you wanted to express about the changes in particular, or anything you just haven't been able to get out there regarding the change.
yeah, the change, it was a process that came. I've been mulling on for a little while. So previously, I used to be the artist known as LARP Girl, and now I'm just Kaza Marie, because I feel like there's a few things that I do that go away from LARP. Some of my witchy projects, my love for nature, my pup. There's a lot of things that LARP has introduced me to, that I have just fallen in love with, and those experiences I want to start sharing. So, but when I chose the name LARP Girl, I was young in my life, and I had just started my adventure into adulthood. And now I'm 29, and it's a little hard to be called girl. And I feel like I've blossomed into a person that I don't want to be defined by a young persona anymore, and I want to just kind of health, and maybe people will like that. So that's kind of where the change came from. And I've just been so grateful for so many years, have had just this excellent following of just people I consider friends and people I've battled with at LARP and who have supported my work. And I hope that they are okay with the change, because I really feel supported by them. So thanks, guys. Shout out to all you Patreon, Ko-fi, everyone.
Oh yes, and we will be putting all of Kaza's Patreon and Ko-fi etc. information in the chat and everywhere else that I can put it, in hopes that you all support her and the art that she does. And as thanks for filling in tonight, because as some of you may know, I actually had a very last minute emergency cancellation of this week, and Kaza just jumped in. And thank you so much.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Anytime a friend in need, never fear, because Kaza's here.
I heart your face. All right. So I'll stop with my own idle curiosities and move on to some of the Discord questions, which were great. So we'll start with kind of a more basic question from Dave the Bard. It's where did you get started in LARP, and who got you interested?
Where did I get started? My very first LARP event was one of those, boffer LARPs that meets on the weekends in a field next to a park, and there's no cost. It's just a battle, and you'll have a persona, and you'll kind of just fight each other. And very similar to like SCA or other LARPs that are kind of more focused on combat. And oh my goodness, I was in high school, and I just remember being like way too nervous to actually ask if I could play. And I kind of just watched for months on the other side of the field, hoping that I could build up the courage to just be like, hey, can I join you guys? I even bought them like food and would bring it to them until I would win them over. And so finally I got to join, and I did a few battles, and but then I moved away, sadly. And I really yearned to find what LARP was, or another LARP, and what LARP was going to be for me, being from that group. So I was trying to find a LARP, finally did. It rolled into me assisting and running that LARP for 3 years, and the local community basically just started referring to me as that LARP girl, that girl that would always continuously ask if we wanted to join LARP, because I was heavy in recruitment mode, and just trying to get people to come to our LARP and experience it. And so they just started calling me that LARP girl, and so then that's where the channel name came from. And it's blossomed into something very beautiful. I'm walking away from the name, but I do think that at the time, the term LARP girl was something that was kind of used to kind of be like to tease me about my enthusiasm, and then it became a name that kind of stood out as a young identity, a young voice that had something different to say in the LARP community. So there's so many wonderful things that have come from LARP girl. So yeah, does that answer it?
Yeah, no, that was.
Yeah.
I really hope that the food won them over pretty quickly.
Oh, it did.
Okay, good. Okay.
Oh, and it's always been my staple too. You can make friends if you just feed them. So I always get very nervous trying to make new friends. So I always try to bring something to share so that I can introduce myself, as well as kind of which shows up with cookies, and then you're on our side. So.
Gosh, actually, I'm gonna slide up to question 7 instead, because that very good transition there. Question 7 is one that we've asked everyone on here so far. I think this may end up being kind of like the staple Tales of Make Believe question, because we're all hungry when we're LARPing. And that is from Nick, and it is what is your favorite food to eat while LARPing? And do you have any favorite recipes to make in game? I do think that this question does come from a place of boffer weekend LARPing, because there's a lot of situations where we just get fed at Blockbuster LARPs, but I'll let you go.
Yes. So I think this isn't a classic staple of LARP, but I deeply appreciate a roll with cheese and salami. It is my absolute favorite, and there's no real recipe to it. You just throw it together and you're back on the mod. But I do have one recipe that I get asked about often. If I can share that one with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a Brussels sprout recipe that I
Yes.
often cook, and it has probably been something that it's my go-to for, you know, events, if I'm able to cook, or if I'm just doing something here at home and I want to host and I want something healthy. I have a very, I have very many dietary restrictions, and so Brussels sprouts actually keep me going most of the day. So my Brussels sprout recipe is super easy. You just get a big bushel of them, as many as you can eat. Cut the ends off of them, cut them in half, sprinkle some salt and pepper to taste, and then just cover them completely in olive oil. And then you cook them at 400 degrees for about, I want to say like 20, 25 minutes. They'll get really crispy, and they're just really good that way. So, yeah.
Now I'm regretting. I have a great picture, which I'll put on Instagram or something, of my pug Frank just staring up at Kaza while she makes Brussels sprouts. She's just like, no, you can't have these.
I love him. He couldn't have them, though. I don't think puppies are allowed to have Brussels
No,
sprouts.
he's also got way too many dietary restrictions. So,
Yeah. Oh, I would have just eaten them all anyway.
the Brussels sprouts. So yes, internet Kaza's Brussels sprouts are widely coveted. You've just learned a huge trade secret. You heard it here first. This was a huge scoop on Tales of Make Believe here tonight.
And the trick is, you got to wait for them to get golden and crispy on the top.
This question is also for whoa. Is that Aries?
That was him.
Okay, yeah. Segue. Aries. Aries is wonderful. Aries has an Instagram. Do you want to
He
pitch
does.
Aries'
Oh,
Instagram?
oh, it's silly. His Instagram is Dog of Peace. So he used to be known as the Dog of War, Aries. And so it didn't really feel right to just, proclaim him some god of war. And he's very much a peaceful pup. So I named him, Dog of Peace on Instagram. So if you want to check
It's
out what
so
he's into,
cute.
his narrative and his little diva-esque posts, you can go to Dog of Peace.
I hear you. I love you. I miss you.
And he'll get jealous if I shut the doors, though. It's just going to be gently interrupted every now and then.
That's fine. Um, this question is from Nick. It is, do you approach building characters differently depending on if you'll be filming or not?
I do. At least I used to. It's been a long time since I've been to an event where I wasn't filming or filming around. So I think the process for me is a little, in one way, well oiled, and then the other way, completely rusty. So for the past few years, I have just been dedicating my time to documenting these LARPs. And what that generally means is that I have to kind of pick something again that's special about that LARP that is unique and different, so that if no one's comfortable with me filming them, I can at least rely on myself, or the people around me to be able to tell the story, the narrative, and also demonstrate the rest of the LARP. So I try to pick something that is a bit different each time, usually the polar opposite of what I've just played, in order to showcase the LARP as best as possible. So that does mean that I do kind of look at that aspect first before I dive in for any personal flair. And I think that's probably the key defining point of that. So yeah. And then as far as like going to LARPs that I'm not filming. I think when I approach a LARP that I'm not going to be filming, I think that there's just a little bit of like openness that I have to have all of the selection to do whatever it is that I please, and to be whoever I please, and not have to go with a mission or a storyboard or planned scenes where I'm going to be filming X, Y, and Z. I'm not showcasing any props or anything specific, so it does give me a lot of creative freedom, but I do really enjoy the template that I've created for kind of going to a LARP to film, because it does just kind of get me straight to the point of what is different about this experience that I can really just focus on and enjoy.
Yeah. I really like how you've started adding more and more of your own music into your stuff. I'm still sort of reeling from I got to watch the the almost done cut of the Empire in Flames video 2 days ago. So yeah, there's a lot of music in that, and so that actually leads us to Blue Lava's question, which is, what is your favorite song to sing around the campfire at a LARP?
My favorite song to sing around the campfire at a LARP. Well, you'll never find me singing unless it's in my tent alone where nobody can hear me. But I think I like. I'm trying to think of the name. Health to the Company is probably my favorite song to sing around the fire. I think it's because most people know it. And I think that a song that most people know generally is the best to be sung, because then everybody gets to kind of participate in it and feel the emotion and be a part of that moment. And Health to the Company is a very easy song to learn. So I really like that one. But yeah, you'll never hear me singing it. I'm not going to start the song.
I should have put the caveat to play, because you have gotten rather proficient with a couple of different musical instruments. So,
my favorite song to play recently has been I can't remember the composer and artist's name. First name is Hilder. They composed the Joker soundtrack from the movie, and the song is Dysfunctional Clown or Disgruntled Clown, and it goes dun dun dun, and it's just so beautiful. It's so eerie whenever you're like, I can't do it. I'd have to bring out my mandolin. But when you're kind of just walking around and you're in thought, it is such a melody to have rolling around in your head. So that's been a great joy of learning the mandolin or an instrument that you can just kind of carry around with you at a LARP event. Is that yes, Dan's got it.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Hilder. Oh, I can't pronounce.
Something I can't say. Something.
Gudanar daughter. Oh, but it's such a beautiful song. It is such a beautiful song. I can believe it was Oscar nominated. I can't remember it won, but it is such an incredible soundtrack, and you can really just hear all the different emotions that kind of like ramble around as like these instruments freely play. And I really dig that about having an instrument at a LARP event, because you can kind of start to play what your emotions are, and it's just another tool in the belt that we can kind of pull from to create that immersive environment. So I just really enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in movies a lot they'll have like a recurring sort of riff that will like signify like this sort of plot line is being interwoven right now, or this sort of plot line, and I've definitely noticed that you have started to utilize that, and people will see that when you all start watching the Empire in Flames video series. Listen to the music.
Yes, it is. It is something. I would really like to credit that drive that I have to learn the instrument to my friends, Momo O'Brien and Azrai. They have just been so influential in my life. They inspire me daily, and both of them are just beautiful songstress. Both of them play instruments, and we had an opportunity to play a rock band together. And after that, that was like a dream come true for me, because little Kaza, when she was 14, really wanted to be in a rock band, and I got to do it with two of my best friends. So then I started picking up an instrument because I wanted to be able to contribute. And the soundtrack to that I've created for this upcoming video series really is just in so much of my heart for them, as much as it is inspired by them. So I hope that when they get to see it, they'll enjoy it as well as everyone else.
I think people will. I've personally had that song that Casey was singing stuck in my head for the last 2 days. So
yes.
We're just gonna reminisce about that video the whole time. Sorry, folks. Interview's over. No. So let's see. Dave the Bard would like to know, what sort of LARP experiences do you wish existed, / you wish you had the opportunity to attend?
So many LARPs are out there. And oh goodness, all the ones that I wish I could have played, I feel like I have played, or they are coming in the next year or two, and I'll get an opportunity to play. But for me, I think that, I mean, to be honest, that I've already played the top two that I really wanted to play, and that was Marked LARP, which was an X-Men My Hero Academia kind of LARP, where I got to play that rock star, and I got to play a mutant girl who was very much like me, and with her reading disabilities, learning disabilities, and it was so powerful that I could feel all those emotions that I felt when I was younger in an environment that I really wanted to be in. I mean, who didn't want to be a mutant when they were a kid, you know, and have superpowers? So it was like peak for me, as well as this recent one that I just came back from, Outbound Mission Hope. And I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica fan. I just had always wanted to experience that. And they had run a similar event overseas a few times, and it just never successfully came over here. And then it finally did, and I got to go, and it was just absolutely amazing. And both of those LARPs were bucket lists for me, and I got to do it. So I think if I had to just create a strange one that maybe, oh gosh, oh no, I do have one. This might sound silly, and I'm so sorry. But I would really just like a LARP that's like out on a beach, and you know, Mamma Mia comes to mind. I just wish that we could all
Yes.
Mamma Mia LARP and sing and dance and
Oh my gosh,
just
yes.
absolutely just fall in love with other characters, and just be Mamma Mia. Like, I just love that movie so much, and what I love the most about it is just all the antics that are happening behind everybody as they're falling in love, and you can kind of just see the villagers are disgruntled with how these people are just lacking love, and it's kind of fun. So I think it would be a very silly LARP, a very fun musical LARP. It would create like a lot of interesting things. I mean, I could go on about my idea for Mamma Mia LARP.
No,
Forever.
the wheels are. I love this. Okay, so a little bit of backstory. I had never seen Mamma Mia before, and Kaza showed it to me on my birthday this year, and I have watched it twice since. I love this movie, and yes, I would adore a Mamma Mia ridiculous LARP. Yes.
If it wasn't Mamma Mia, I'd be okay with either like a LARP that was both Amazons, bare naked people out on the beach, and ABBA. If you could take those two concepts, I think there's like a Star Trek planet similar to that, but like
Wow,
I don't know, but
that is just like a perfect land right there.
yes.
Are we allowed to talk about naked people on a beach on Twitch? I have no idea. I barely read the terms of service.
Let's hope so.
Oh gosh, that sounds like such a good idea. Okay.
I think it'd just be fun and free. LARP provides so many experiences and safe places for you to be able to experience things. So why not just like sing and dance and, throw spears into the ocean or something? I don't know.
That's all right. I have dreams. I have so many LARP dreams now. Did you hear about the LARP dream that Dan had, the Bard mod or the Bard LARP?
I think I missed it. You'll have to tell me.
Yeah, I will. Yes, good stuff. And basically anything that involves like whimsy and singing, that's where I'm at in my LARP mood right now. So we'll slide back over to another one of Nick's questions. You will all notice that Nick has asked many, many questions because Nick is great, and you too can ask many, many questions if you go to our Discord. Advertising voice. I don't know why am I. It's just a fun place. I don't need to advertise for it. In as much detail as you are comfortable sharing, what has been the most intense emotional response you've had at a game?
I have had many intense experiences, and they all like try to like crowd my brain when I'm asked this question. But I have one that is very recent that kind of means a lot to me. It caused me to think a lot after it happened, and I don't, but it was pretty good. So I'll share that one. Armistice Arcane. I was playing this druidic priestess. The setting is the early 1900s, and she is kind of like in a cult for a god, and she has decided that she's going to become a goddess, and that was kind of the character going into the event. And when I got to the event, it was everything was riding on me to make that plan happen. And becoming a goddess isn't really just like the easiest thing in the world. As far as I knew, no one had done it before, and I was going to be the first. So, and that also meant that there was going to be some light blood sacrifice, but you know how those things go. This is LARP. And but I had to convince everybody in my faction that this was a great idea. And I generally feel like I operate on the side of good. If somebody's hurting, I will bring them tea and cookies and listen to what has hurt them. And I just generally could never act to harm somebody. It's just outside of my nature. And I was trying very hard to convince my fellow cult members that joining my cult was the best idea. And it just it was really hard for me, to the point where my faction facilitator pulled me aside and said, listen, you're going to need to step up your game. If you want the goal that you have in mind, you're going to have to really work towards it. And what you're doing right now, people aren't siding with you, so you have to start convincing them. And it just, I explained to him, this is really outside of my nature. I'm not good at this. And he said, listen, you're the villain, and you need to get that in your head. And your character is the villain, not you. But for your character to do this thing, you got to be a villain. And I was just like, I can't. I don't know how. Who is Maleficent? Just all these things. Like, I just was like, it brought on panic to think that I would genuinely have to manipulate these other characters so that my character could do this other thing. And I just was like, no. It just broke me. And but in the end, I ultimately became a goddess. And what led through to that has like completely taken me, and has changed kind of not how I operate, but just it gave me the perspective that I still might be thinking that I'm doing something that's good, but others might perceive it as not as good. And so I think that just added an additional narrative in my toolkit to be more mindful in my everyday interactions. So that kind of, that moment was very personal for me and pulled a lot of emotion, and just has kind of rung a bell for me since. So, yeah.
That all looked. I got to go to that one, and that looked. I didn't get to interact with Kaza as much as I thought I was going to, because we ended up going in very different character directions. But from the outside observer looking in, that was all very, very magical and weird and cool. So, yeah, good stuff. All right. So another Nick question. I know everyone's surprised. As someone who has gone to international LARPs as well as North American, what are some things you've noticed that are unique to different sort of regions, etc.?
They are all across the board going to be unique and different. That is something that has been a hard lesson to learn, but there are some cultural differences that come from these LARP communities. And it's not necessarily because they're international. It's not because they perhaps like their culture is influencing it. Really, it comes from, if you think about each LARP comes from a group of people who want to tell a story. And it's generally friends who want to tell a story together. And then they open it up to more friends and more friends. So each LARP, down the street to the next one down the other street, to the one across the pond in a different country, ends up being so different in what their little community culture is like, and what their rules are like, and what they focus on. So you might have a LARP that we traditionally call Nordic, and they might have some rules that are avant-garde and we're not very familiar with them. They might be bare-breasted and, doing the Mamma Mia LARP. But, and then here in America, you might see us doing, American LARP that is, combat oriented, that doesn't have, has personas, but still has these great wars that are fought and this great community that follows it and visits weekly. So it's important to know when going into any LARP, either domestically or internationally, that they're going to have a culture that's different, and it's important to be prepared for that. But other than that, when you go to a different region, I think there's something that, even if it is, again, another state over, or it's Europe, it has a different feel. It has the ability to take you out of your comfort zone and put you into that character a little bit more, or perhaps you're spending more time as the character that in that environment than you did as yourself. And so it kind of adds to the experience a bit more, when you can be a little dislocated, at least for me. When the roots are taken from underneath of me, it ends up feeling different. But it's important just to know that, at least from my experience, that they're all just different and they all have something specialized about them that comes from, a community, comes from the community's values and creativity and ideas. And, if you look at a rule book or you look at a design document or lack thereof, you will see the roots of that community in that book, in that publication. And so it's kind of fun to look at it that way.
I think you're absolutely right about that. I definitely felt very in it when we went down to New Orleans, especially because we went from cold weather to really nice weather, and I was just like, I am somewhere else.
Yeah, and
Right.
it's humid, and I don't have to wear a sweater and a jacket.
Yeah, and I didn't pack right because I'm, from New England.
Oh, New Orleans! I love going there every year for Armistice Arcane, because there is, there. I think that there's something special about that city, and it kind of puts me in the mindset. And one of the things that I really like to do before I attend a LARP is go and spend time in the local area. And maybe it's just a museum or an art gallery or walking around the streets, but just allowing myself to get acclimated to the area and get used to the environment, just so that I know I have things I can pull from when I go into the experience. So just kind of, or like learn the history before you dive in, kind of thing.
Is more about, because I remember one of our first interactions was me messaging you on Facebook being like, I think I want to go to a LARP in England, but I have no idea how to travel at all. Please, I'm going to bother you. Sorry, LARP girl. Hi, I'm Miranda. Can you please help me? And you're so nice about it.
No, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
Well,
that's good. That's a testament to the fact that you are very helpful and you help people that come and you ask you questions.
Literally, I try to answer as many as possible. There have only been a few that I have not answered, or that I've just not hearted, or just something. But no, if somebody asks about specifically, like international travel or something that I have the answer to, or they're just asking for my opinion, I try to give it as often as I can, because oh gosh, I just know that the people that came before me, or that the people that answered questions for me, I'm so grateful to them for taking the time to do that. And I think that the best way that I can honor their charity in those moments is to just continue to spread the love and continue to do good by my fellow human.
Yeah, no, I asked you that, like, it was right after we met. It was like a couple weeks right after we met the first time. I was like, I know you don't know me very well. Hi. No, you were so nice about it. But I know that you probably, this is the actual question. Sorry, that was a whole ramble. Or do you have any sort of more broad tips about traveling internationally for a LARP/immersive experience?
Yes. If you're traveling Yes, if you're traveling internationally, it is good to know how much your transportation is going to allow you to pack. And it is incredibly important for LARPers to know this, because, we rely on our costumes sometimes and our props to help us tell our stories. So knowing how much you can actually bring with you for your travel is really important. And that always catches me off guard, how much it weighs, how much it's going to cost to get an extra bag. Luckily, I've been fortunate enough that some of my international travel has allowed me to just do a duffel bag. And that is my biggest recommendation. Try to get everything that you can in a duffel bag. But if you do have some props that look a little or a little too realistic, such as the LARP weapons, or if you have like a skull that you're bringing with you, it's probably best to stick it in a bag that someone's not going to ask you questions about. And so, so it's just take a look at what you've got. Think to yourself, will somebody ask me a question about it? And do I really want to bring it? No, the answer is yes, bring it. That has been like the thing for me the most, as well as making sure that you have direct line of communication with the people that you're going to be traveling to with. Perhaps having a travel buddy or somebody who's coming from the same area as you is great. Getting on the Facebook group, forums, Discord, whatever means of communication that the LARP has provided to you or the experience has provided to you to connect with others. Try to utilize that so that people know who you are, where you're coming from. And that's just some general travel safety that I think, just is helpful at any time. But I think, if you're traveling internationally and you've never done it before, really the hurdle, I think, is just doing it. I was so scared for the longest time that, and I just never could. And I think that the moments that I've had traveling where I have, scraped my knee and bled a little have been the moments that I have really appreciated those learning lessons. So, traveling internationally can often be difficult, but there are plenty of safety nets there for you, such as the airport, so you can help answer questions, as well as there's a lot of resources available. So if you know where you're going, kind of find some safety places for yourself, book your Airbnb, hotel, plan your course. I'm a big planner. I have like so many things that I just plan out like each one of my hours, or where I'm going and the distance. So that's kind of been my approach. It doesn't have to be everybody's. I think that many LARPs internationally have done really well to set up a travel plan, such as like, buses, transportation, pick you up at the airport, feed you, any last minute items you need, let us know. So look out for those if you are trying to travel internationally for the first time, because those ones, as they have everything that you need, they take care of you. It makes the journey a bit easier. So, or you can rough it, backpack through Europe.
I don't know if I could rough it. I'm not a.
Oh, you could. I believe in you. I saw you carry a pug up a mountain.
Yeah, but you've also seen how heavy I pack.
That's real.
Now we're going to pull some questions from the Twitch chat. This one is from Michael Wayne, and it is, do you have any favorite jokes or memes that have resulted from LARPing in general or from your own LARP experiences?
I do. So this one comes from my father, and nobody ever gets it. It only works a few times in LARP, but you will hear me say it at every event I'm at. My dad watched this movie a long time ago, and it's like a kind of like a hippie movie, and it's like a high-speed chase or something, and the guy gets in the car and he's like, "I'm ready to go," and he goes, "I was born on a green light, daddy-o." And I've heard my dad say that so often that it's like engraved in my head. So I'll go to a LARP and they'll be like, "All right, we're about to go out into the battlefield. Are you ready, soldier?" And I'll be like, "I was born on a green banner, Captain." And I get looks like, "What are you doing?" Or "I was born on a green beam," for like, Outbound Hope. But it's just like, I try so hard to incorporate that into every one of my characters for the pure essence of it's only funny to me.
Yeah, I know that there was something else that happened just the other day too, where it was like a certain time of day.
Oh, it's 3:36.
That's what it was.
Yes, it's 3:36.
It's 3:36.
3:36.
All right. let's swoop back up here. What do we got? Okay. So Soul Quinn asks, what do you do to get into the character, such as if like a hand sign or a specific costume piece, any particular like one specific thing that you use to get into character?
Whew. Just one. Ooh. I think that one thing that has been incredibly beneficial for me to kind of get into character is taking a few minutes before the event starts to reflect on my character, have that be either in workshop form, listening to music, my playlist, or something like that. That's kind of, you know, around the character, just kind of like diving into the mindset of them and just invoking everything that I've kind of uh, set up to remind me. I don't have anything specific that's like a prop or a clothing piece because unfortunately they all change. But it is that moment when I am in like the costume, I'm in the environment, and I can kind of like take a breath like that character. I can start to talk as that character. I can walk as them. So I take a like a mental exercise moment to kind of stretch my reflexes on being that person.
That's cool. Um, we got kind of an interesting question, and this is a we can ask it or not, but I think that this was probably something on a lot of people's minds, just because I know a lot of people are very fascinated by this world. So the question was: it seems like you've been fairly open about your sort of more witchy practices, both publicly and in game. And how has your practice influenced your scenes slash characters, if any?
Yes, that is a very great question, one that I'm happy to answer. And if you guys have more questions about that, please ask anytime. So I have a connection that has come from just immersing myself in nature, from loving animals, and just kind of you know it began by when I was younger, just wanting to find magic in the world. I think I read too many mangas or something, but I really just wanted to see what in our world existed as magic. And so I started learning about witchcraft. I started reading Wicca, and just so many different like books about it. Wikipedia articles mostly. But then I just started developing my special connection with it. Finding a familiar, having a wand, candles, and that kind of started to go away at one point in my life, at a very sad point in my life. And it wasn't until I started LARPing, and then I called upon some of those elements to kind of you know dress a scene. And at first, I was like, I thought I need to be much better practiced at this in order to show it to others. And so I started diving into it much deeply, and it became very personal for me. To me, my witchcraft is comes from like my connection with nature all the time, and I feel very attuned with nature when I'm existing within it, and that happens so often at LARP. So it's hard not for me to want to connect the two. And so, finding other like minded people in the LARP community has been incredibly special and has given me the opportunity to embrace that aspect of my life even further. And it's just been really beneficial for me because I've just felt like I get to, find the magic in my life that is real, and find, ways to make my everyday just as fun as a LARP can be. But, it's that kind of, in my opinion, doesn't even really talk about how special it is. It's just, I went looking for magic in the LARP world, but then I got to find it within myself. And it's been just really wonderful. And learning to love and care for myself and craft has just been has been a wonderful journey. And I think that I think people have seen a lot more of the witchcraft in the past 2 years, because it has just been a big part of my self-care, because it teaches self-love, and it teaches me just how to embrace myself, and get it out there. And yeah, so I hope that answers the question, but I think that's generally why we see more of it. It's because I just I've been really enjoying crafting. So yeah.
That was lovely. Oh
Thank you.
gosh.
Oh, don't cry.
It's fine.
No.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Well,
Oh wait,
it is.
I have one more thing to say about that though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I forgot. The one thing that I have loved absolutely about practicing magic is that um, you don't. It's a practice that you don't cast on anybody who's not accepting in it or it does not know that it's going on. So you would never cast or I practice that you would never cast a spell for somebody unless they've given you permission, or on someone unless they've given you permission. But one of the things that I try to do in my LARP rituals or my rituals at LARP is I will invoke some elements of my practice into it. So that way that anybody else who's practicing can lean into it. Or if somebody, at least I at least try to provide like a healing space or a space that's going to help people so that if there is anybody who wants to receive that energy, they get it. And that's been really, really wonderful. And I think at the witchcraft LARP that we went to, I think that many people appreciated that. At least it was exciting to give that to them and then have them kind of get a little takeaway with it. So
That
yeah.
was an intense. Yeah. Could talk about that for an hour too. I think.
Yeah.
Uh well, folks, it is 8:54 on my here coast, and so we're gonna swap on over to Enter the Tomb. So, because we still don't quite have 100 tomb scenarios, we're going to have Kaza roll a slightly smaller increment of dice. But that does mean that you all have a chance to get to the Discord and message me with tomb scenarios. And that said, we're going to do something fun and different this time. Welcome to the tomb. Kaza's going to roll a die now.
Okay. All right. It's a 10.
Okay. Great. So what original character are you going to be portraying for the next couple of moments?
I will be reprising my role as Frances Jones.
All right. For reasons probably unbeknownst to us, because Frances Jones is a very mysterious lady, she has been traveling, adventuring, seeking out secrets of space and time. Or something. Maybe. They're her secrets, though. In a tomb. And she's had many adventures in this tomb already. And it's a bit of a moment of respite as she finds her way into a section of this tomb that has a cavern and a series of strange market stalls with various people peddling wares. And you come across a very fascinating particular stall with a strange individual inside. Only has one item in this stall. And he calls out to you. You there! With the strange eyes! Do you want this? It's definitely not cursed. It's very magic.
Not cursed?
Definitely not cursed unless you want it to be.
Well, what kind of magic?
Can't you cast detect magic? Oh, I guess maybe you're not that sort of adventurer.
Oh, I just like to find out. Fine, I'll how much do you want for it?
How much do you have?
Oh, well, a sad story. I have nothing, but a whole lot of it. It's in this box.
How much is nothing worth in your realm?
Oh, well, surely you would know. I can't imagine a market person like yourself wouldn't know how much it's valued in my realm.
What realm are you from?
Well, I can't just tell you that. It's Jones' business.
Oh.
You're familiar with the Joneses, right?
Oh, yes, Jones realm. Hold on. Wayfinders. All right. Nothing in the... Oh, nothing is actually worth quite a bit in the Jones realm. Yes, I'll take your box of nothing.
Very well, and I'll take your possibly cursed magic item.
Oh, yes. Indeed. Enjoy. Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, totally duped.
Totally duped.
And that
Oh,
And we've exited the tomb for the evening.
I love Tomb. Can I just tell you, Tomb is my favorite part of the show.
Thank you. When I was coming up with the name of the show, I was like, "Oh, that's funny. It if I do just the initials, it's Tomb. I should do something with that." So,
One of my favorite little like things that have been like with friends or just anybody that I know from the LARP community is if we're in public, just kind of converting into our LARP sonas and just, getting into shenanigans in that format. Like, I think that I've, been to either like a theme park or like an art museum and have taken on one of my personas and kind of played with that in a more intimate setting, in a public intimate setting. And it's been very, very exciting. Maybe much more strange than just LARPing in the woods, but I think it's fun. It's a great way to kind of develop the character too, just kind of improving in a much more random setting. So
yeah, it's generally at least partially like 5% some sort of adventure when you go off with Kaza anywhere.
Oh yeah.
But that is all the time I'm going to monopolize of Kaza's busy life this evening. I know that she's still hard at work on that Empire in Flames video, which you will see many interesting snippets of if you follow her Patreon. You'll also see a fair bit of me in that video if you like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think there's like, I think you have at least 45 minutes of screen time.
Oh, golly. I'm going to hide my face in a pillow the entire time I watch it. That's what's going to happen. It's fine. So you've been watching Tales of Make Believe on the Make Believe Twitch channel, a Twitch channel that has a lot of grand plans. So this is where I actually am going to seriously pitch my Patreon. If you follow our Patreon, you will see that I have a new goal. And that new goal is to get enough subscribers that I can justify getting all the art and assets I need for a second show, Journey to Make Believe, I believe is its current working title, where I get people from the LARP community practice doing Twitch tabletop role-playing streaming. And I've got a lot of sort of veteran tabletop role players that are super excited to help out. And because I have a lot of LARPer friends that have really been asking, how do I get into this whole Twitch D&D thing? So that's my next goal, is to continue marrying my two different lives together into one big, happy, nerdy roleplay family. Goals. So thank you all for watching. I am going to turn us over to our welcome screen or our thank you screen where I thank all of my lovely patrons and I thank our sponsor, Sammi at Dice Bags of Holding. You can visit all those things if you click on the little boxes underneath the stream. You'll also see the Discord there and all of that stuff. But thank you so much for joining us, Kaza. This was great.
No, Ren, thank you so much for having me. And anytime you need someone to sit in, I'm happy to be here. And you've just been such a wonderful light in my life, and I appreciate the work that you're doing here.
Oh, I just realized I did a tiny faux pas. The two of the questions that I pulled from the chat, one was from Soul Quinn and one was from Disciple Run. I didn't say their names. Thank you both for submitting questions. And now I'm gonna slide us over to the end. Good night.